Envision Virginia Beach bold,
Councilwoman Sabrina,
better, inclusive. So let us together envision Virginia Beach for the future. Vote
Virginia Beach Councilwoman
Sabrina Wooten,
Councilwoman Virginia Beach Council.
All right, so we'll get started. Go ahead and get started. Welcome to everyone who's here. And if you like to, you can move on up because we're going to get into a conversation tonight, and I want to hear your opinions. And this is a listening session, and so as we get started, again, welcome. This is Envision Virginia Beach, and it is a listening forum for everyone. This is the first that I'm hosting. I am Sabrina Wooten. I am candidate for mayor. I am currently, yes, I appreciate that, candidate for mayor of the city of Virginia Beach. And so this is the first of many forums that we will have around the city, because it's important. You know, when you talk about running for office and you talk about advocating for people, it's important to meet the people all over the city. And so tonight is about listening to what you think about certain topics within the city that are important. And so as a candidate for mayor, the last this is going on 6 years, I've served on Virginia Beach City Council in District 7. And so my term ends this year. And so I had an opportunity, I had a choice. Do I run for re-election, or do I decide to do something else? And so I decided not to run for re-election, but to do something different, to make a difference, to make a change. And so I decided to run for mayor. And so I'm happy to be able to put myself out there. This is going to be a different race, but it's going to be worth it. And so when we talk about envisioning Virginia Beach, for the last 60 years, actually this year is 61 years, we know there has been a lot of accomplishments in this city. There are a lot of folks who are certainly happy with the results, and I think that's good. But even after every year end, every new year, you look at what you can do better. And so business owners, after a new year and after the year's end, they look at their reports, they look at data, and they look at how they can improve. How can we grow? And so that is the same perspective that I have in terms of Virginia Beach. After 61 years, we've had some great accomplishments. We've had some great wins. But how do we grow? How do we improve? How do we make things better for the future? Better for future generations? And so many of us, you know, we've been here and we've lived and we've accomplished. But now in the future, what will it be like for our young adults, for the next generations to come? How will we improve education? That's important. How are we going to improve the economy, make the economy stronger? It's strong, but how do we make it stronger? How do we increase our economic arms that we have? We rely a lot on defense. We rely quite a bit on agriculture. We rely on tourism. But how can we diversify? And how do we make our economy stronger? How do we make this city better for our young adults, where young adults have challenges in our city? Because as I talk with them, they say to me, Miss Wooten, I'm leaving. I'm going to another city. And my question is always, why? Why are you going to Atlanta? Why are you going to North Carolina? Where are you going and why? And they say there are not enough opportunities here. And so for our young adults, making sure there are more opportunities, endless opportunities for you to use your talents, your gifts, your education, build a life for your family. And so when we envision Virginia Beach, and I say that this is a vision, one that is shared, one that not just as a leader I communicate, but one that I talk to you and find out what you want, so that we can share in this vision together and work together to accomplish it. Because oftentimes we have a vision, we have goals, but we don't have buy-in from the community, from the leaders. And tonight, it's all about envisioning a shared vision. Visualize, what do you want education to be like for your children in the future? What do you want your businesses to be like? Visualize that. We want our businesses to be strong and prosperous. We want young adults to have opportunities. We want our seniors to have a better quality of life. I've been talking to a lot of seniors out there, and they've been telling me they're struggling. And they're struggling because perhaps they can't keep up with the cost of living. They're on a fixed income. There are some who live in community centers or in community assisted living, and the rent is increasing. How do we help them live a better quality life? Envision that. Let's visualize that. And so envision Virginia Beach together. Envision Virginia Beach bolder. Envision Virginia Beach stronger. Envision Virginia Beach better, a better future for all of us. And I have a video that I would like to play as we get started. We'll talk about some issues. I have a couple of issues that I understand may be important for you, but we can talk about issues that may be important that you think of, that you want to really talk about in terms of a future mayor, so that I can take that information, embody it, and implement it in a strategy and in the vision for our future. So if we're ready for that video, and play that video, and then we can talk about some of the issues.
Virginia Beach Councilwoman
Sabrina Wooten.
Councilwoman Sabrina Wooten. Virginia Beach wants to be proactive. Thank you for coming out today. Thank you to friends and family who are here. It's because of you that I can stand here today and make this very important announcement. So over 5 years ago, I was elected to serve on Virginia Beach City Council. 5 years of fighting to move this city forward. I've had a chance to stand with citizens and advocate to address the disparity in Virginia Beach. I've stood with citizens and led the effort for the first independent citizens review panel. And I've also stood with our business owners and our entrepreneurs, ensuring that they were able to grow and expand and be all that they can be in the great city of Virginia Beach while strengthening our economy. And so as a result of all of those things, fighting and leading and standing, it's important for me today to announce that I am running for mayor for the great city of Virginia Beach. It's time for us, after 60 years, to envision Virginia Beach. Envision Virginia Beach, a better place for our senior citizens. Envision Virginia Beach, a place where our young adults have many opportunities, where they can stay right here in Virginia Beach and work and live. Envision Virginia Beach, bold, strong, better, inclusive. So let us together envision Virginia Beach for the future. Vote November 5th, 2024 for Sabrina Wooten for mayor of the great city of Virginia Beach. And for more information, you can go to www.wootenformayor.com.
Thank you. Thank you for playing that video. And that video introduces what Envision Virginia Beach is. Envision, as you know, is visualizing what you want. And oftentimes when you think about a vision, people tell you what they want for you. But I think when we envision Virginia Beach, we can tell leaders, the leadership, what we want for our city. And again, that can be a shared goal that we have and a shared vision as a group. And so I remember when I announced that I was running and the reporter talked to me about my decision, he said, "You're serious about this?" I said, "Of course I am." I said, "Why would you say that?" He said, "You have a website. You have a website up. You have all these advertisements up. You're very serious." I'm very serious about running. You know why? Because I'm serious about this city being the best that it can be for everyone. I'm serious about this city being inclusive, being strong, being a place where we all can be proud of, can invest in, and can look to the future. So I'm very serious. There's no playing, and at the end of this journey, there will be victory. So let's talk about some of the issues. Let's talk about education. We can talk about education. We can talk about affordable housing. Those are things that are on my list. We can talk about the budget. And so we can take about an hour or so and go over some of the thoughts that you have about those areas. Does anyone have anything else they want to talk about? Do you have an objection, or do you have more that you want to talk about? No? All right, seeing no hands. Let's start with education. So when we think about education, I have an expert here in the room. It's Sharon Felton, who is running for at-large seat in school board. Please feel free to help facilitate this conversation, because you are the person who has the experience in working with educators and being in the field, and you know exactly what we need in terms of envisioning education for the future. And so we know that in the region, in terms of our economy, education is important. And so many of you may know during the pandemic, we bounced back in this region. Our economy is $21.5 billion. And in Virginia Beach, and in this region, if we want to continue to grow our economy, we're going to have to understand how to diversify it, perhaps include another arm, maybe the creative economy. I was in Richmond, and I was talking to a lot of the creatives and a lot of the artists, and we talked about how that industry created $87.7 million in the city of Virginia Beach. And it added 2,875 new jobs to the economy. And so if you ask me, that's already an arm of our economy. We are just not promoting it or bringing awareness to it, but the creative economy is a substantial one by the money that has been generated, by the jobs that have been generated. And so we have to ensure that we're diversifying our economy with other streams of income, streams of revenue that add to defense, that add to agriculture, that add to tourism. But as we continue to grow and grow our economy, studies say we need to increase and improve education. So I've been out in the schools and I talked to the administrators, I talked to the teachers, I talked to the students. Now, although we have increased salaries for our teachers, in the last budget, there was the highest raise that the city of Virginia Beach approved in the budget. There is a need for increasing and having a step plan, though, because the increased salary is great, the raise is great, but there still needs to be parity for our teachers and for staff in general, bus drivers, custodians, all those who add to the educational environment. And so those are good strides that we have made. But what else? What else do we need to improve education? Some of you may have young adults in school. Some of you may have grandchildren. What is it that you visualize or envision and visualize for education for the future in Virginia Beach? Sure. Here's the mic. Would you like?
You spoke well to those points about education. And education, and if you have a great vision, which we do in Virginia Beach, all our schools are accredited, it brings people, it brings other entities to your city because of your public education system. That is a known fact as well. But I would like to see how we can improve on recruiting teachers and obtaining them. And one of the things you brought up, continue to give them a livable wage, but also think about, I've seen where some other cities are venturing to making affordable housing for teachers coming out of college and trying to teach and getting them a boost up. This is an experiment that's been going on in some one or two cities, and it's going quite well. I'd like to have that to be entertained as well. Also, since we know that education in our system is a top-notch system here, look at building our schools, especially those ones that are schools, building our school building, especially those are in the age of 70 years old, 60 years old, 75 years old, and I'm naming that right. I'm just not pulling numbers out of the air. Just to upgrade our school buildings to create a healthy and learning environment for our students. It is very important.
Let me say a couple things about education. And one of those is a point she just brought up. We just spent a lot of money on Kellum. Spent some money on the triangle of elementary schools that is in the not Great Neck, down there off Town Road. The triangle that's right by the recreation center. Huh? No, not Renaissance. There's 3 schools that are right together there, right by the, I can't think of the name of it. No, it's not Butts. but it's right by the recreation center and off Newtown Road. Diamond Springs, that area, but not the Diamond Springs school, Williams Farm area. One of those schools is very, very old. Not Bayside. The elementary, Betty F. Williams. Betty F. Williams is almost older than dirt. But when money was allocated to revive the schools, they did almost a brand new thing for Kellum, and they did not much for Williams Farm. And the importance of that is that Williams Farm and that area, that tri area of 3 different schools, they are the ones that handle the bulk of students that need assistance. Betty F. Williams. And they haven't upgraded it at all, or little to none. So we have to look at how the city spends and the Board of Education spends that money in terms of upgrading schools. Because the fact is, most of those children look like me. I got a problem with that when you're not treating mine. Okay? So that needs to be looked at. Why so much money spent that wasn't really needed on Kellum where it was needed in the area. The other thing that I want to speak on is how we evaluate kids in the school system. While it's not been spoken loudly, we categorize them. Expectations. If you are white, if you are Asian, if you are Mexican, or that, okay, so it goes Hispanic, that's what I want to say. Expectations drive how that teacher teaches to a specific student. You understand what I'm saying? I don't want the expectations, that child's doing great with an average of 70, when somebody else has to average 96 to do great. You teach to what you expect, and you're not getting the whole bag of worms. That's a problem. And so I needed some scrutiny on the various schools and how we evaluate the children in those schools and how you teach. Because if you say my expectancy is for that child to only make a 70, I will tell you, you teach down to that rather than try to pull that child up. That's the problem.
They got some pretty strong concerns because if you're reading your statistics right, all of you, education has never been fully funded. Education need to be fully funded because when it is not fully funded, when the federal government tell us that we have to do certain expectations in our schools and we want to, that money has to come from somewhere. So that means you're pulling from Peter to pay Paul. So if we could get on a bandwagon of looking at how important is education to this city? If education brings businesses, they bring people, they bring the military. When the military families are saying they're going to be put into another place, this is one of the cities that they choose. And they choose the city is because of the education system. They choose the system because of our special education department and how much we put into that as well. Is all of that lacking sometimes? It is, because we have never been fully funded. If we can get fully funded, be able to work hand in hand with City Council. And I would say that this is one of the layout of the City Council now has been more engaging than years past. I will say that, I will credit it for that. And we've tried hard to work with City Council to keep our budget straight. There have been times that we sent our budget, our resolution over to City Council, and it was flatly turned down by 3 or 4 minutes, and it would come back to us, and we didn't understand why, because we worked it well, every item. But I would say that what this gentleman here is talking about, Mr. Jackson, is saying about education and our students and giving them the resources. If we fully fund our school, that means we can put more resources, more teachers, more buildings, more accreditation inside the schools with full funding, for the funding.
Yes, just a quick question, an observation that you mentioned about who we talk to, who we get involved with some of these decisions we're making. And I want to know, how much involvement do the students get in, and what are we really teaching them? You know, they need to come out of even high school with a marketable skill. Not every student is going to go to college, and oftentimes we want to gear these students towards college. They go to a 4-year degree, come out with $80,000+ of debt, and can't get a job in the field that they went to. So I think we also need to be looking at school curriculums and adopt some marketable skill that students can come out with and earn a good living.
Okay, Sister Councilwoman, from my perspective as working with children in our church, and we're trying to adopt a school now, what I'm finding is that our young children still need extra time with reading, writing, and arithmetic. I am surprised at kids who are in the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade who is reading on reading levels below what their grade level is, and they're being pushed through. And I see that quite a lot, and that's something that I just want to just bring out. And I hate to just bring out problems. I'm not sure whether or not it is feasible for us to talk about Head Start programs. Can the schools, Virginia Beach schools, can we start training our kids at 3, 4, and 5 years old before they even get to kindergarten? Let us also be aware that we do not necessarily want to take public dollars and support charter schools. Let us also be aware that we have to have school board members who are tuned to education and not to politics. We're not trying to, I don't want nobody running around talking about woke this and woke that. I thank God that I'm woke, but not in the way that they're talking about. Last time I went to a school board meeting, a couple of the people down there who were sitting on the school board were contrary to education, in my opinion, and were worried about their child reading a book, that if they didn't want their child to read the book, why don't you be the parent? Okay. I'm going to shut up.
Excellent points. And I think, oftentimes, fully funding our schools, making sure we have the right curriculum, making sure students have opportunities other than 4-year colleges, trade, maybe different trades or skills, because, that connects to the workforce as well, because you have a lot of large employers who are looking for people with special skills. And if we don't have a pipeline from our school to help with those vacancies and those areas and workforce development, then certainly our workforce organizations will suffer. I was in a conversation last week, and this was about healthcare. And they were talking about how, we're in a deficit for doctors and nurses. Folks are just not going to school to become doctors, nurses. And so they're looking to now middle school and lower to find children who are interested. And we're trying to figure out how do we tap into perhaps students who may not ever have thought of certain careers, of nursing and medicine, and other areas. How do we engage them? And they might not be the students that we see every day. Maybe we have to go out to the boys' clubs or other neighborhoods and maybe the basketball courts and figure out how to engage them. They may not have been thinking about it, but how do we engage them and what programs can we put in place to build up in those areas where we're lacking? Yes. Okay. Okay.
Middle school, most of the time, they have something in their head about what they want. But maybe there's so many other things that are out there, if it was presented to them and the possibilities of how to get into that, whether or not that's a field that you need college for or not, or you need college for, and yes. So I place some of that on what can we do in the area of counseling so that people know what's available to them and reach beyond the normal ABC thing. There's other things out here. Okay?
So right, and I'd just like to say to all of you that are in my hearing, we have a profound nursing program. We have a profound entrepreneur business academy. We have a legal academy. We have specialty schools in every high school. But the concern is, like you're saying, even when you bring up reading, Pastor Allen, we have a deficit in teachers, in space, resources. And sometime when I go out and I speak with the community, I say, you can volunteer. We need the volunteer to come in and do something. And you're absolutely right. It's going to take, and this is not a cliche for me, but it's going to take a village to get us back up to par to where we want education. And COVID, it might have been a bad thing, but it pulled the cover back on some things that we had deficits in and what we need to look at and work on. Do we still need to put more help towards our children? Yes, we do. Do we still need to put more emphasis behind everybody's not going to college? You're right. We have, and I named all those academies, and I said in all of our 11 high schools, we have academies in those high school specialties. But the only drawback is we don't have enough room. You have a waiting list for the Entrepreneur Business College. We have a 300 member waiting list because we don't have the space, we don't have the instructors, and they're waiting to get in. And if you've ever had a chance to see these students in motion and what they do, and when they come out with their product, it's ready for market. It is ready to go, and they do a good job at the Hive presenting these products. But because the lack of space, the lack of instructors, the lack of us being in there, saying to the school board, coming down there as a unit, saying and talking to not just school board and talking to city council, these things are going to liken. I'm like you. I would like to see more, but when you got to have a budget. You got to have the money in there to make these things grow and be more profitable to our students, all of our students. And that's one thing that I was on during my sabbatical off the school board. I actually went into the community and took surveys of what parents were saying about school, and they were saying that I don't know all the resources that my child can have. And sometimes, and this is sad to say, when I had my discipline hearing, the students would come before me, and I would ask the students deliberately, "What do you want to be?" And so I said, "I want to be a nurse. I want to be a traveling nurse." I said, "Do you know we have a nice nursing program?" And they would tell me no. They're in middle school, 11th graders. They say, "No, you don't." So right then, I would educate them standing before me and tell them, "We have to do this." So that means that we have to do more communication and engaging and talking about it and getting that information out.
Hi. I think one of the way to get the kids very inspired is to have like a career day appropriate for each grade level. Well, I wouldn't say grade level, but school level, like elementary school, middle school, and high school. It should be appropriate. But I think if we had each different departments, like the health department comes out, maybe a few nurses or a few doctors, the police department, fire department, teachers, whatever field, and that includes like, small business too, for those who don't want to go to college but want to own their own entrepreneur. Say, hey, whatever you want to do in life, you're able to. This is the way of going about it. They can bring whatever description, like whatever equipment, like a fire department can bring their truck, can show the youth how to operate and teach them, how to be a firefighter and the great aspect about it, or the police department or doctors. I think that would kind of inspire these youth, these young adults, versus just giving them a paper and say, here, go to college, or here, go to trade school. But I think we need to bring that excitement, and we got to bring it back to how it used to be with Career Day. And I think that would get the young adults going and the youth.
Since we're envisioning, the way I look at that means to me that there is no limits on what we can say and what we can vision. Let's get away from volunteering. Volunteering. Why in the world do you anticipate churches, fraternities, sororities volunteering time to go into the schools to read to the kids and everything else? Give them some money. Pay them. Don't have to be a whole bunch of money. But if I got $45, $50 for about 2 hours worth of volunteer work at the elementary school, then I got money to cover my gas and coming back, and I got a little incentive. Volunteerism wears out after a while. Paying people, then you got something going. Something we can look for.
Yes. I know folks who say, we work for this or we work for food. People work for money. So sometimes you just got to pay them. That'll do it every time. So we are having a discussion how we envision or visualize Virginia Beach for the future. And so we know how Virginia Beach has done in the last 61 years, because this year is 61 years. But what do we want to see? And we're having a conversation about education. What we want to see in terms of education for this generation, for generations to come. And it's important that we visualize it so that it can be a shared vision with leadership, so that vision can go forward and everyone's invested in that vision, in that future. So I'm closing out this section because we want to end on time. So the next area is affordable housing. Okay. Okay. Reading is important. Yes, absolutely.
church involved, they can certainly do at a younger age. And that's get our children reading earlier.
Okay.
Earlier, so that when they get into school, they're not having that hold them back. And that's what happens with a lot of students. They're held back because their reading skills are not there.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Great point. And a great way to end this section, and let's start talking about, we have a couple more, affordable housing and the budget. All right. Affordable housing now. I'm going to do because affordable housing, I think a lot of people have a lot to say about affordable housing.
We need to tell the truth and define affordable.
Okay.
Okay, we're building a lot of apartments and stuff talking about affordable housing, affordable housing. The apartments are there, but the rent came with it. And so you have affordable buildings sitting there for some people, but it's certainly not affordable to a lot of those folks that need housing. You know, there needs to be some definition by the city of when they're spending money on affordable housing, what are they expecting and who are they expecting to live there? Because I think the whole design in the beginning was to get people that worked in Virginia Beach the ability to live in Virginia Beach. But some of those affordable housing projects are just not affordable.
Okay.
I think part of the problem is, because I've sat on some of the comprehensive plans, is they're not using the term affordable, they're using attainable.
Okay.
Okay, attainable just means the housing exists. That doesn't mean that you can afford to live in it if you live in this city. And then they want to use the term workforce housing. We just want housing that people can afford, period. Make it so that the teachers and the firemen and public service people can afford to live in the city they work in. And we don't need all these other fancy words, and attainable is not one of them.
All right, that's good information because we just had a conversation about a housing study on Tuesday, and I'm not sure how many studies we've had, but I believe that study we just completed, I believe it was $20,000. And so we talked about some of the concerns we learned from the study and some of the possible options to fix in resolutions. So one thing that I remember that stuck in my mind, and that's why I say envision Virginia Beach a better life for our seniors. 40% of our seniors are burdened financially. It is hard for them to attain housing, to maintain where they are, 40%. 1 in 3 people in the household are financially burdened. And, you know, when you look at all that's going on, all roads, all sides lead to doing something to ensure we have housing that people can afford. And so we have the study laid out, and I think they're going to probably post it on the website, but the study laid out some very short-term goals and long-term. And I think, you know, for me, one of the areas that I would like to see addressed is helping our seniors. Coming up with a program, at least bringing awareness to programs that will help them. We also had a discussion in terms of our seniors about tax relief, because as they get older and their homes appreciate, the taxes go up, and so it's hard for them to afford taxes. And so we have a senior tax relief program, but I believe we can change it and modify it to where it addresses some of those issues that our seniors are having. So those are some of the takeaways from that study. But there are some things we can do now. We can provide a fund for people who workers, in the city. We can provide some resources and funding. That's a short term and a solution we can do right away. But council has to agree on it, and we all have to support it. And so my suggestion is, let us accept this housing study. Let's accept it, because oftentimes I think we need to accept the study, because if you never accept it, then how do you become accountable, and how do you take responsibility in using the information in the study? So my suggestion, accept the study, and then let's decide what options we can do right away as short term, and then let's look at some long-term plans. But I think just like education, this is gonna be an all hands on deck issue. So we need help. There's a bill now in the General Assembly where they're looking at religious institutions actually setting aside and determining where they want affordable housing. So the religious organizations have stepped out and say, you know what, enough is enough. We're going to get involved in this, and we're going to designate where we want affordable housing. But the pushback for that bill, which I heard when it was talked about, was, well, we as a city don't want you telling us where it goes. So the city is taking issue with that particular bill, that they don't want the religious organizations saying where it should go. They want to have a say-so. So that's where we are in terms of the housing study. Do you have something?
Yes, I just want to make sure a couple of things that Councilwoman Wooten just said. First of all, she said we got to accept the study. That means, ladies and gentlemen, that there are people on council who don't want to accept the study because they don't want to be held accountable. This is why she's such a strong candidate for mayor. She is going to ensure that people step up and do what we elect them to do. Secondly, on the last issue that you talked about as far as the religious bodies being responsible for housing, I am not necessarily a proponent for that, simply because I don't think that we should have our government forces who we pay taxes to keep founding all things to the churches to do, so that they don't have to have the responsibility for doing what they should be doing for the citizens of the city. If that makes sense, because it's the same thing and so much stuff. They put the stuff on the churches accept the responsibility. Why? Because we got a heart for the people. But when the program fails, the city is going to turn around and point their finger at the church. Yeah, so we are in a position then where we're trying to do the right thing, but then they are sitting around there saying no, but then once we take it over and do it, they're not going to fund it. And if anything comes up that is, out of the way, and the churches are the one who initiated it, then we're going to be the one that's get the blame for it, and so it's going to come up crazy. But I really stood up to talk to, I went to a meeting with the Virginia Beach Housing Authority. I don't think they call it a housing authority. I can't think exactly what their title is. And the question we asked them was affordable housing. And all they could talk to us about was apartments. Now we got two young men in here, under 30 years old. Living in an apartment is not going to build you wealth. One of the best ways for you to build generational wealth is to be a homeowner. Real estate ownership. And Virginia Beach does not have affordable housing for people in this young people's generation, because now the housing market is going up, and you can't even buy a townhouse nowadays without spending $225,000 to $250,000, let alone a single family residence. So that is the big issue, and I don't know what the answer to that, Councilwoman Wooten, is. I really don't. But maybe it starts with getting a housing authority and having people held accountable. Instead of giving all of this land to these developers to build these apartment complexes, maybe we can put something on them to do something in an affordable housing market where they can build townhomes to sell the townhomes. And I'm not talking about condominiums. I'm not talking about townhomes with, hundreds of dollars worth of monthly PUD fees. That knocks you out of affordability. You know, they need to keep those fees down to a minimum so that people can afford to pay them on a monthly basis. We need to find out some land where they can build a community of single-family houses, 3 bedrooms, 2-bath ranches, 1-car garage. That can be done, but Virginia Beach don't want to do that. So when you talk about affordable housing, that type of stuff goes on. You have a heart for the seniors. I have a heart for these young people who are still stuck at home. Can't leave mom and dad's house because they can't afford to get a place. So that's my thoughts.
And that was one of the areas that were highlighted in the study. Young adults, working adults can't afford, and I think it was mentioned, can't afford to live in housing because they don't have a true livable wage. So if the wages are low, they can't, provide the funding for the apartment or the single family home. And there are a lot of folks, even I talk with our city workers and, they were telling me, I've been on the job, 15, 20 years. I can barely afford a single family home. So that's heartbreaking, and that certainly when you think about Virginia Beach, and everybody thinks about Virginia Beach and places that I go, meetings that I attend, they see Virginia Beach as this shining place. They have everything. You're one of the most populous cities. You have all the resources. They look at us that way. And so to be able to work here but not live here, and you don't have enough stock, variety in terms of housing to meet each person's need, whether it's a teacher, whether it's a young adult, senior citizen, we're one of the most populous cities. We have some of the best resources. We should be able to figure this out. And we can. We really can. But it starts with the leadership holding them accountable, saying, look, let's not do another housing study, please. You're wasting taxpayers' money. Let us use what we have and let us start working toward the goal.
Absolutely. And there's one other little side issue that goes along with affordable housing. We need to also have affordable transportation so that people can get back and forth from their jobs to their homes. Affordable transportation and mass transportation is critical in an area of the city this size.
And along those lines, when we were talking about incentivizing volunteers, why couldn't you incentivize city employees to live in the city by giving them grants or something that can help them with their housing? I know I'm from Baltimore. Baltimore incentivized their city employees to live in the city by giving them money to go towards their housing. They have to buy in the city, but they incentivize them.
That's what Norfolk Redevelopment Housing Authority does. Norfolk Redevelopment Housing Authority does the same thing. They have grants that they give people up to $40,000. Up to $40,000 to help them buy houses in Norfolk. And if they happen to be police officers, teachers, nurses, or doctors, they might be able to get extra funds. So you have your Virginia Beach workers living in Norfolk.
Yes. And we need to change that. And along, what I will say, along with affordable housing and increasing transportation infrastructure, oftentimes you find tied to those areas an element of fear. And so, even we were talking about extending the VB Trail. You got some people talking about that. Well, where is it going to go? In our neighborhood? Who's coming? Who's going to be using these trails? So it's always that element of fear, affordable housing. Who's living there? What kind of housing are you talking about? Who is going to be, who's going to be my neighbor? Are they going to? So it's an element of fear in these areas that we have to really come against and tear down, because when they use that element of fear, it stops or encourages some of my colleagues to say, oh, no, we don't want to vote that way. We don't want to support this because there's fear there. And so a lot of times you just got to call it out as it is. It's fear. We don't make policy based on fear. And, you know, in terms of this city, in terms of moving forward to the future, we can't allow fear to stop us from doing that. All right, so that's affordable housing. Did anyone else have anything to say or about affordable housing? Because we can go right to the budget now.
Is this fear spelled R-A-C-E? I mean, you've been on council, you know that I don't have a problem coming to council and asking that question. I don't have a problem because that's what needs to be looked at. The same as the issue in the school system. Here, I got it. That's the same thing in the school system. Who gets what? What areas get what? So, you know, let's talk about who we are as a city, as a state, as a country. There's a problem, and we need to deal with the problem. You can't deal with the problem if you take the books out to school that deal with the problem. We keep trying to get around this thing by calling it some sort of problem. The problem is spelled R-A-C-E. And we need to, in council, in state, wherever, we need to deal with that issue. Last time I looked at the book, it's called the Bible. God created, and he didn't say, well, some of those are going to be here and some of those. He didn't say that. And so I don't say that. I don't hold my tongue. If I see you, I think you've heard me say it a lot of times to the mayor, I see you. He knows what I'm talking about. And I'm not afraid to say that. I've been dealing with this political system here in Virginia Beach since Mayoral Oberndorf ran, 1976. I understand who and what and why they are. A lot of these are not problems that can't be solved. It's problems that they don't look at because they don't want to do that. I'm a truth teller. I'm going to call you like you are. So you understand the list we got. Maybe put a line under there and say, is problem equal R-A-C-E? And if they want, you need somebody to defend it, I'll be there. I don't have a problem with that. Because I'm older than most of them, I spank them.
Okay. I will say, just a note, as I move on to the budget, I will say this. Many of you probably know we're right now having issues with changing our charter for the city of Virginia Beach to have a true 10-1 system. So in the General Assembly, we have opposition with a couple of delegates who have decided they're going to push back and delay the issue. And the more they delay and the more they gain traction, the threat it poses to that bill passing. And why I mention that, because we have now the most diverse council that we've ever had. The 10-1 system brought a diverse council where you have 4 African Americans, but not only just in race, but background. In terms of youth, we have younger council members. When I was on council and I won my first election in 2018, and I was sworn in to sit at that time. It was November. It was in November 2018. There was nobody who looked like me at the time I sat. Nobody. And that was with the old system. Fast forward to 2024, where before, when they had, I think the first time we had the election with the 10-1 system, 2022, that brought the most diverse election system. So council that we have. And I say that because when we talk about issues of race, oftentimes the colleagues that I used to sit with, those conversations were contentious, as problematic, and then sometimes they wouldn't even really have the conversation. Now, we can have more of a conversation. And we have more folks who kind of understand some of the code words or some of the way folks treat issues, some of the tactics and strategies that they use. Oh, we want to delay this because we need to do a study. No, you just don't want the person to come in and do business with the city. That's all that is. We understand that. And so as we are able to become a more diverse council, then we are able to address those issues a little bit more. And so that's what I would say about in terms of the electoral system. We just really have to be vigilant there because they are trying to stop progress. You know, and this is something that has happened even at the local level, and they've strategized and they had it planned for a while. So now we're running into that. But we're going to keep hope alive. We're going to keep fighting. We're going to keep addressing and advocating to do the right thing.
Why don't you also, Councilwoman,
So there is a lawsuit that was filed. It was actually filed yesterday. And so I can tell you some of the names on the lawsuit. When we started hearing about some of the issues with the bill being brought up and not passed, I started getting calls. I started from residents and other people saying to me that they were told there was a case. There was a case out there that was in opposition to changing the charter. First, it started off with them saying that there was opposition because one person voted against adopting the 10-1 system on city council. The vote was 10-1, so we had more than a supermajority. So it was clear as a body, city council wanted to adopt the 10-1 system. However, some of the delegates, Delegate Barry Knight, Delegate Tata, stood up and said, well, no, there's opposition in city council in the city. You mean one person? It was just one person. Mm-hmm. Yes, yes. And so it started there, and then the case. So we're wondering, and I'm asking questions with the city attorney, well, what case is it? So we know RK had a case, but that wasn't the case. The city attorney said, we'll discuss the case with everybody. So on Tuesday, so the case wasn't discussed on Tuesday. I wonder why. Because the case was filed on the next day, which was Wednesday. The case was filed by, and I know D. Oliver, Linwood Branch, and a few other people. I can't remember everybody. But I remember those two came up. Somebody's looking it up now. So that case has been filed. And so from what I'm hearing is that case, well, first of all, if they don't pass, the bill, if they don't pass it, then of course our charter is not in line with what the city council voted on. And if that case has any traction, what will happen is the city will be open for lawsuits if we have to go to something else or keep what we have that it aligns with the charter. So we'll be open up for lawsuits if that bill isn't passed. So that's where we are, and it's unfortunate, but we're going to keep, as I said, advocating and fighting, because this is 81%. We had 81% of the residents say they want a 10-1 system. Okay, Don Horsley. Did you say Steve Simpson? Steve Simpson. And LaToya Robertson, along with Linwood Branch and Dee Oliver. So those are all the people who have filed that lawsuit, and it was filed yesterday.
Now, if I may, particularly for the younger people here, you all may be novices in this thing. The rest of us are old heads. We've been fighting this fight for a long time. The 10-1 system allows each individual district in the city to elect their council person to go and represent that particular district. Previous to that, we had 7 districts where we would have 7 people supposedly representing districts, but they had to run all across the city. And then they had 3 at-large seats. These 3 at-large seat people had to run all across the city. So if you live in Lake Edwards and you wanted to be a city council person, you had to generate enough votes with enough money to get those votes all across the city of Virginia Beach to be on city council. So that's why we only had 1 black person on city council for over 60 years. I don't think we ever had 2 black people on city council at the same time until 2020? 2018.
That was me and who's now Senator Rouse.
Yes.
And we were both together.
So this is why it's critically important, because we talked about education. Well, guess why our school, Betty F. Williams, is 70 years old? Because their children wasn't going there. Guess why we don't have affordable housing? Because they don't care. She's ready to talk about the budget. Virginia Beach's budget is in the billions of dollars. Billions of dollars. Virginia Beach's budget is only second to the Northern Virginia area in the whole state of Virginia. There is a ton of money. And this is why you all are being shortchanged as young black men in this city, is because we don't have the diversity coming here. And the reason I asked her to talk about that and bring that up, because I want to make sure you all understand what's at stake. Please go back to your peers and tell them they need to be at her next meet and greet, which I don't know exact date it's going to be. I'm sure she'll tell us before we're over it. And that way you all can come and hear for yourself. She's the expert.
I appreciate you elaborating on that system. But I think when you see your way of doing business and the status quo, when it is threatened, folks decide, well, we're going to do all we can to stop change. And that's not, and it's unfortunate because, as Dr. Allen mentioned, that negatively impacts our young adults, the future generations.
That's why they leave.
And that's why they leave. There's an article out that talks about how our young adults are leaving this area. They're leaving this region. And so it's a whole lot that we can discuss, but we definitely know that we can do better. We can do better. And so we'll end the conversation with the budget. So do we have any, in terms of visualizing the budget, we talked about education is tied to the budget. We talked about affordable housing. That's tied to the budget. What are some of the, in terms of the budget, what do you visualize? I could tell you one thing I visualize, but this is about you. So I asked you first. I told you what I think later. You may not want to know what I think now. I'll tell you, though, later.
One thing I think that we have got to do with the budget, envisioning the budget, it's what we fought for with the diversity study. We have got to diversify the big businesses that come to Virginia Beach. We have a African-American developer who's been trying to get a deal done in Virginia Beach where he's not asking the city for any money, but yet still they can't get his project out of council. We have a white developer who went to the city of Virginia Beach and got $140 million and revamped his hotels. It is a beautiful place. He did an excellent job on our money. See, he is the big fish in Virginia Beach, and he has a lot of political influence with the old guard that's still sitting on council. The reason why we don't have that diversity in big businesses coming to Virginia Beach is because he knows then he will not be the only person in Virginia Beach who has some push. And so, as mayor, you're going to have to fight that fight to get council to move beyond their local political ambitions and let some of these major corporations who have tried to come to Virginia Beach to do business in Virginia Beach.
No, and that's a good point, and you're absolutely right. That's why I think it was our last Tuesday public meeting or the one before that, they had a study. That's why I tell you, this is a strategy. It's a strategy to delay and to block. And so we're sitting here talking about this, gentleman who's trying to bring something good to the city and has a proven track record, A1 quality project that he's offering. And we're just saying, consider it. Just consider. And you have folks saying, well, we need to do a study. What are you doing a study for? We already know what studies have said about the area and what it needs. And, it's been some time, but it still says the same thing. So what you're just saying is we're going to delay because right now we're not sure about that person. We're not sure about what they're going to do. What do you mean? The plan is clear. The plan was presented. We asked for the.
Asked for it.
We did a proposal. We did an RFP. I believe it was an RFP or for it, and then the person sent it in, and it wasn't very many. There was really no competition. So. Absolutely, and it's tied to that. It's tied. That's why it's so important to have that 10-1 system in place, because when you can break up that whole status quo, big business, the way they're doing business, you can break up and change the leadership aspect of this city. Then you can open up opportunities for everybody. I mean, and it's sad because if folks would do their research, they would know when you bring in diverse businesses, when you open up opportunities for minorities, your economy will increase. It will boom. But some folks are just so short-sighted on me and what I've been used to for years. We don't want to share. We don't want to open up. Well, that is not what this future of Virginia Beach should be. That's why we have to envision and visualize a better city. Yes, it does. And they're talking about it. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I
Yes.
went to the meeting last week at the
Okay.
convention center where we talked
Yes.
about
Yes.
the budget. And one of the things, the two tables I was at, and it was a very diverse group of people. And we sick of studies. They asked, what can we do? What can we cut in the budget? And we said, we can cut all these studies out. That's what we could do.
Yes, they cost
Yeah,
money. Cost a lot of money.
And the meeting we were at, there was a consultant that we were paying to listen to put all our stuff together. So another study. Put all our stuff together to just come back and tell us we don't have any more money. So that's one. We sick of studies. And another issue for the budget for me is equity. We have to be equitable with our resources. Yes, we have great resources in the city, but when you have one rec center that's obviously less amenities than all the other rec centers in the city, and it's in your historic African American community, that speaks volumes. And it's the closest one to the oceanfront. You're so proud of your oceanfront, so why don't you give us a rec center that proves it? And we don't want to hear that it's in line with the other rec centers that's supposed to be looked at this time. We're talking about equity. We're not talking about the age. So that's a big issue too.
Absolutely. And I think that is, it's so important. As I was reading the study that talked about how do we continue to have a robust economy, it talks about how we can address duplication that wastes money, how we can actually look at services, and it talks about court services, but look at services and kind of streamline those services. And then it also said, listen, cut taxes. Cut taxes.
Well, and another thing too is, because I was at the meeting last night too, and I was told I need to go to the budget meetings to talk about these things. So even with zoning, so of course now I'm talking about CTAC because that's my area, but if we're in a vulnerable community where they want to keep putting businesses right next to our houses and companies and corporations, and instead of houses, because we're told they can't put houses there because of the flight zones and stuff, but yet in other areas of the city where they still not supposed to be building, they still doing it for encroachment. So I'm just, again, equity. If it's the rule, it needs to be the rule for everybody that's in the zone, not just for the people who are in a certain community.
Absolutely.
Okay, I'm done.
I agree with that 100%. And yes, one more.
Talking on that about
Yes.
CTAC,
Yes.
and I have addressed it several times with the city council, a lot of them, that they need to change the zoning of CTAC. CTAC is zoned as an industrial area, and that's been on the book. That's been on the book since 1929. They did some shifting changes, but overall, CTAC is zoned as industrial. And I have asked, and I've talked to several of the councilmen one-to-one, you need to change that.
That's a good point.
They need to change it, and the business that comes in there, they tell us. So if you don't change it, other ones is coming in behind us. That's the only reason why we're here, because you have not changed that zoning.
And there's another area we have to pay close attention to, and when I'm coming to my time of 8 o'clock. Is it? That's right. I think I'm thinking, what's the other area? It's not Butt Station. Not Butt Station. Burt Station. Burton Station, I'm sorry.
That's gone.
We got to pay attention to development in that area.
I understand that whole Burton Station is gone, and it's because of at one time the person that was doing that move, Harris, what's his name? Yeah, he's gone now, but he's the one that did that, and I fought that, and what he did was a divide and conquer, because Burton Station was such that it had people that still have property there, but they didn't live there. They lived somewhere else. Then you had a group of people that didn't want to leave there, and then the third group of people was people that were there, but they wanted to rent their property. But he divided the three groups, and then they had a vote, and it's gone.
Unfortunate. It's unfortunate. But these are areas that are important to the budget. And as we close out, do we have any other things we want to add?
One more on there about the oversight.
Okay.
The problem I have with oversight is it's supposed to be a group that kind of brings the community and law enforcement together. The problem is, if you ask most of the people in the community, they have no idea who's on that committee.
Okay.
The other thing is they have no idea who those people are or what their qualifications are.
Okay.
One of the things it says is they're supposed to have at least 2 or 3 that are licensed, JC, you know what I'm talking about, licensed by the state, DCJS. We don't know are they or not, or whether they even have any. And what is the result? To calm that down, they had an incident a little while back about the protest, and they arrested one of the guys. I guess they were taking him to the car, and he fell down, and everybody said, "Oh, the police pushed him down." Well, they really didn't. But that stays there because nobody. What did the oversight committee do? They should have investigated that and said, "Hey, community, and hey, police force, this is what happened." So if they're doing things behind closed doors, we don't know what they're doing.
And that's very important with the Independent Citizens Review Panel. One of the, and I often go to the meetings because that's one of the issues that
Do they announce the meetings?
I pay close attention to. They're on the website. They're help me out, every third Wednesday from 4 to 6, and it's at City Hall.
Yeah, but what?
Say it again. Building 9.
But okay, look at what they did.
Oh no, that's building 19. Yeah. So building 19, they have every third Wednesday
But look
at
what
4.
they did. What time is the meeting?
4 to 6.
Think about that. Where is everybody? At work or on their way home? Exactly. Right?
And
they don't have the city council meeting at 6 o'clock at 4 to 6 because they want other people. They don't want anybody there. So those are issues you got to look at. What time you having the meetings? What's the agenda? Mm-hmm. What are you doing? Okay,
and that's the time certainly can be addressed too. And I encourage people to go and sit there, and provide feedback because that's important. Because they will post the agenda on the website. But I will say, I know I see another hand back here too, but I will say that time can be addressed. They do have a coordinator, so they have a coordinator for the board. That person is responsible for getting out the information in terms of social media, letting people know they're there, the times of the meetings, who's on the board. So that's the person who's supposed to be going out and to the community, educating the community about who they are and what they do. So that person started January 4th.
I'd like to know what their qualifications are. If you're going to investigate something, do you have any investigation skills?
We can find that information out for you because they just came aboard, and so then we also had another gentleman. He's more of a supervisory type of person, but retired police.
That ain't supposed to happen either.
He's added on to the board as well.
It's supposed to
They have 2 of them.
It's supposed to be completely separate.
They don't have a vote.
Let me take it back, if I may. First of all, thank you so much for calling this, Sister Wooten. This has been tremendously good for me, and I hope and pray that you all have gotten some good information to take back to your communities. Budget. Envisioning budget, wouldn't it be great if they had a budget for youth activities that equaled that of the police force?
Yes.
I know that's a big ask.
Yes.
But think about it. Our police force budget and a budget for youth projects and programs. Do they equal? No, we spend probably 20 to 30 times, probably 100 times more on our police force than we do for programs for our youth. And it's one thing that I will give the Virginia Beach Police credit for. They are doing everything they can within what they have to work with to engage our young people. They are doing a great job in that. But wouldn't it be wonderful if our budget had more money for them to do that?
I think it would be outstanding.
Can I piggyback right on that?
Yes.
And if they're going to continue to hold or ask the churches to be accountable for some of the things that they want us to do, then put that in the budget.
Okay.
God don't need your money, but the building does. We need roofs, we need lights, we need air conditioning, we need heat, we need all that stuff. And in the words of one of the more famous preachers, you want the community to give the church 10%, while the country is getting 50% of their money. Give the church 10, and then expect the church to do everything they need to do on the 10% that you gave them.
Good point.
Doesn't work.
Point.
put it in the
Excellent
budget.
point. I agree with you. Excellent point. Okay, let's see. Sure. Yes, go right ahead.
This is a summer youth employment program.
Yes.
You know about that, of course. I don't know how many people in the community know about this.
Nope.
They've already started hiring because you could do it online. Now, let me say something about hiring, and I'm saying to you, young folks. This is an opportunity not only to get a job if you're between 16 and 21, summer job. You could be anywhere in the city on that job. Parks and Rec, you could be helping, and you'd be in a police building, you could be wherever. But one of the things that does, and reminded me because they just mentioned law enforcement. They have a law enforcement program that while you can start at 17 and you finish when you're 21. They can't license you as a police officer until you're 21. But during that 4 years that you're doing programs within this city, you are working on a 2-year degree. So when you finish that program, 21 years old, and you say, "When am I going to be a police officer?" You can say no and walk away. You don't owe them anything. But what you do have is a free 2-year degree that your parents or nobody else has to pay for. It's paid for by the city and the police department. Or you can say, I don't want to be a ground police, but I want to go into forensics. You already got 2 years paid for. Think about that. And when you go to these summer jobs, make contacts. So when you step out of that program and you graduate from school, you know somebody that can get you a job. Make your contacts. Use the system the way you should use it, because some other folks use it that way. Okay?
Well, thank you. Yes.
Problem with, and I was a Park and Rec commissioner for so many years. The problem with that program is that the city, we can't get as many students in there because they already have the interns already set in the city. So we reached out to other businesses, say, if you have a business, would you take some of our youth and our students an internship? We couldn't get that. I literally sit on the phone and I was calling myself doing that. But that's a problem with that summer program. It sounds wonderful. It is, but you're limited by how many jobs, because just like our academies, they will get the kids in and they will get 300 applications, and sometimes they only have 20 jobs.
Oh, no, they got lots of jobs. This is lots. This is across the city.
Okay, so
It could be anything.
they've changed, but I'm just saying that with that said, if it's across the city, that means that some of the city departments have lowered their acceptance of students because that was a problem. Is that come through Park and Rec?
It comes from it's across the city.
Does it come through Parks and Rec?
I don't know who comes out.
Right.
No, I don't think it comes from Parks and Rec.
Is it through Parks and Rec? It is Parks and Rec.
Parks and
Yeah,
Rec.
it might be
But
all
it's,
of
but
it.
it's not only Parks and Rec jobs.
I understand what you're saying, Mr. Jackson. And Councilman Smalley, because you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's limited. It sounds wonderful on paper, but if we get those corporations that have businesses that will hire our children, or businesses that would, I'm not going to use the word volunteer, but you know, and then when you hire them, they pay them.
Oh, they
Yes.
pay this. The city pays this one $15 an hour.
I had a problem getting our businesses to do that.
But I don't want to talk the program down. I want to get kids in the program.
Get them in there. Call.
That's $15 an hour.
And I think it's an excellent program. And so we probably need to kind of do an assessment and find out all that's involved and
Yeah.
what are the limitations, and make sure we're opening up to everybody. So that, because we're putting money into this program, and so if we're going to put money into the program, we want to make sure that it is going to be beneficial to as many as possible. Absolutely. All right? All minds and hearts are clear? Okay. Thank you for coming out. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate everybody who took time to add to the discussion, because really this is what it's about. This is a pretty much a grassroots effort to kind of find out what the people want and what you want to do. And that's usually how you've ever changed anything, is at the grassroots level with people. So I will be having a few more next month and the month after. I'll be, believe I'm scheduled to be in SeaTac. Then I'll be over at Ebenezer. I think in March, I may go over to Virginia Wesleyan to talk to the students. Then I'll be at the Filipino Cultural Center, probably in April. I'll be at the Boys Club, probably in May. And so I'll be going all over the city. I'll probably even visit Bayside to kind of talk to the students, because they have a lot of good ideas. I was at, College Park Elementary School. Do you know they had a board that said Envision Virginia Beach? And I took a picture. And they had a lot of ideas. A lot of their concerns were environmental and homelessness, those areas. So I'll keep a watchful eye on my Facebook website, Instagram. You'll see different Envision Virginia Beach forums popping up everywhere. And so I keep this thing going, because I want to make sure that I'm hearing everybody all across the city. All right. Well, thank you again. Thank you, Pastor Keys, and your wonderful staff, everybody here tonight who volunteered to be here to make this a success, because it was successful. I appreciate your hospitality. Thank you so much. Good night, everyone.
Yeah, we'll leave this place in prayer. Yes. Oh, all wise and wonderful God, we thank you for this evening. We thank you for the gathering of your people. We thank you for what our eyes have seen, our ears have heard, but more importantly, what our hearts have felt as we address the issues that impact our community and impact the people. We realize that you are a people God, and you said that we would be your people and you would be our God. So God, thank you, and we ask that you would continue to bless our young folks and all of our political leaders, oh God, the mayor that's about to be, and also our city council folks, and also our school board member who's about to retake the seat. We bless them right now, oh God, and ask you to continue to watch over them as we leave this place, but never from your presence. In your son's name we pray, amen.